Hi, Dan. Yeah. No, I'm just about to record the news now. Yeah. I know Quentin said, and you said, don't do the swearing, don't get angry about the stories, the negative story. Yeah. Don't worry, it's fine. I'm in a really good mood. No swearing.
5 minutes later.
Daily Mail, piece of shit. Top journalists. Flaccid. I've made a right boo-boo there. What the whack? Hello and welcome to Almost Breaking News on the Fully Charged Show. My name is Robert Llewellyn and I'm here to bring you some fascinating news snippets from the world of electric ground transportation, renewable energy, clean technology and the incredible energy transition that is happening around the world as I speak. Coming up, finally an actual battery gigafactory in the UK. Tesla builds the first production Cybertruck in Austin, Texas. Wales might finally get a decent charging network. Ford slashes the cost of their F-150 Lightning pickup. Tesla will sell electricity to householders in the UK. What the what? The biggest forest fires ever in Canada. Is this the new normal? A scooter company that will pay your fine for illegally riding their scooter. A new company starts churning out low carbon or zero carbon concrete. And I have a drive in the Ford Mustang Mach-e with Blue Cruise. Look, Mum, no hands. So just before we start, there's a few stories that have really, they deserve a mention. One of them is really, really lovely, but I'll get to that at the end. I'll start with the other slightly smelly one. So our wonderful current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has just opened the floodgates to allow all the oil and gas companies to go into the North Sea and extract loads of, well, actually not that much because there's not that much left, oil and gas. All the stuff that the government has said for the last 13 years about going green is nonsense, which we always knew it was. Interestingly, the day before he announced this, his wife, very, very successful businesswoman, made an investment or got paid, or there was some deal she did with Shell, who are one of the biggest investors in the North Sea oil and gas extraction, £1 billion deal the day before. His missus did that. I'm not saying there's any connection. I have no idea of what the business deal is. All I know is she can really rake in the money. And good luck to her. What a lovely woman she must be. How marvellous. So now the press that rabidly support our current Prime Minister have just been doing a really good job with their journalism. They call it journalism. I call it lying. Anyway, they've just done this wonderful story. So this poor woman who drives her new car and to a hotel overnight, parks it in the car park, stays in the hotel overnight. They haven't cleaned the drains. There's a load of rain. It's an electric car. That's what it said in the mirror, in the sun. Daily Mail, piece of shit. Top journalists. Absolutely hopeless. Anyway, what they said was it's an electric car. An electric car. It got ruined by being left in the rain. It was flooded up to its bonnet in a big puddle. And so you see this story and you go, oh God, another anti-electric car story, but fair enough. It got destroyed in the rain. I mean, any car will be damaged if it's flooded for 24 hours. And then I saw a picture of the car. It's a diesel Renault Capture. You useless, lying, tow rag, fossil-funded This is so funny, this story. Some of your older people will know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Debrett's. Now, Debrett's publish a book about who is a lord, who is a sir, who is a duke, how you speak to the royal family, which side you have your knives and forks on when you're eating posh. You know, if you become a lord, you'll be published in Debrett's Peerage. But now Debrett's have published the guide to electric vehicle etiquette. Isn't that lovely? I think that's marvellous because it's so posh and it's all like how you behave when you're charging your car and have respect for others and don't hog the charger and when you're charged move on and all those sort of things. And they've done this in cahoots with Vauxhall, who are really pushing out some really lovely electric cars, and they've also done this, which is a little card you can put in your car, and you can say, my vehicle will be charging until 7:30, and then I'll unplug it and move on. Isn't that lovely? I'm going to put that in my car all the time when I'm charging my car. Oh, very nice. This story came out recently, and I'm quoting from The Guardian. That is the British newspaper that published the Rowan Atkinson anti-EV opinion piece that got huge global coverage, and then they had to correct it because it had so many glaring factual errors. Oh, have I pointed that out before? Hashtag my bad. Anyway, Tata, the Indian company that owns Jaguar Land Rover, have just announced that they will be building a Gigafactory. That is a factory that can produce over a gigawatt hour of batteries each year in the Somerset town of Bridgewater. No, isn't that's finally some good news for the UK. And just in case you've never been to the UK, that is not a Somerset accent. That is probably a Gloucestershire accent, which is where I come from. I've made a right boo-boo there. Anyway, we were in quite advanced stages of building another gigafactory in Sunderland, which is in the north of England, where they talk a bit more like that. Except they don't, because it's Sunderland, and I can't do a Geordie accent to save me life. Anyway, by a company called British Volt, but that went under, which was genuinely very sad. This project has got some seriously big companies behind it, so it may be more successful, fingers crossed. But it is a bit of potentially good news there for the battered, beleaguered UK. This is something I first saw on Electrek. Gigafactory Texas has produced the first production Cybertruck. Our very own Chelsea Sexton was at the launch of this unusual looking enormous vehicle back in November 2019. Chelsea now works at a little building called the White House, but she does still talk to us sometimes. Anyway, that was nearly 4 years ago. So where is the Cybertruck? Here's the bonkers part. Tesla have received 1.6 million orders for the Cybertruck, unless you accept other sources that claim it's over 3 million orders. So that's just fluff and fancy, PR spin, speculation, Tesla fanboy, unobtainium statistics. But even if they only sell 10 or 20% of those crazy figures, that is hundreds of thousands of these vehicles. So I suspect that the teams who actually develop, design and manufacture these machines are under considerable pressure. I'm not alone, I know, I'm not alone in looking forward to seeing one in the metal. It looks like it might be quite soon. Wonderful. Welsh Wales, just up the road from me here, land of my grandfathers. I love Wales, but driving around such a beautiful country in an electric car has been a bit of a challenge. I made an episode about it many years ago. There's not an overabundance of public charge points in Wales. Now, this is a story from our wonderful pals over at ZapMap. £15 million of funding has just been confirmed by Deputy Climate Change Minister Lee Waters. He's the Deputy Climate Change Minister for the Welsh Government. The funding is to help local authorities across Wales increase the number of charging facilities ahead of new fossil fuel vehicles being phased out from 2030. We will see how long that particular bit of legislation lasts. Well, I'm saying that they haven't got many chargers in Wales, of course, but that was the last time I drove there, which is over a year ago. They're putting in charge points like crazy. There are now 360 rapid chargers in Wales and more than 1,400 fast charge points in car parks, etc. But this is good news, as the last really genuine hurdle for the mass adoption of electric cars is the charging network. Electric car technology works. All our problems with them are psychological, not technological, but having a ubiquitous, easy to use, reasonably priced charging network is still in progress in many places. It's not 2030 at the moment, it's 2023. We still have 7 years. So news of government support to make this easier is really good news. A lot of the problems are legislative rather than technical or power related. So what I say is, and forgive me, Welsh viewers, pob puer il Llywodraeth Cymru. That basically means all power to the Welsh. Anyway, next story. The Ford F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck has just had a bit of a price cut. What? This is a story from the Washington Post. There have been numerous stories of price cutting by electric car makers, particularly in China, but this is a very chunky price cut. The sticker prices for Ford's F-150 Lightning electric pickup trucks are being lowered by thousands of dollars across the board, the company announced on Monday. Now, this is due to increased plant capacity, falling costs for battery raw materials, interesting, and internal efforts to scale production. And those of you who watch my podcast episode with Ford CEO Jim Farley will know that Ford are not mucking about when it comes to electrifying their product range. Ford said this month that sales of its F-150 Lightning more than doubled in the second quarter and rose 4.1% from the first 3 months of the year. As more and more manufacturers start delivering more and more electric models, the competition is really heating up. Tesla made aggressive price cuts in recent months, and sales spiked to such an extent that the Tesla Model Y became the best-selling car, not just electric car, the best-selling car in the world. Ford reacted in January by slashing the price of its Mustang Mach-e electric SUV by as much as $6,000. I'm very keenly watching this, as I know for certain that many European and North American manufacturers have artificially inflated prices of the electric cars they make to ensure sales of the old combustion engine clunkers continue, because they've got a massive pile of them to shift. I think we will see the price of an electric car drop below that of a petrol and diesel car in 2025, as many far better informed folks have predicted for the last 10 years. Watch this space. Another story from the Guardian UK edition. Now, if you live in the UK, you can buy electricity for your house from a wide range of suppliers. Some very focused on supplying renewable energy. Some don't give a toss. They really don't. I'm guessing that many of us outside the USA would always think of cars when we hear the name Tesla. But in the USA, Tesla also supply electricity to customers who have their cars, maybe power walls and solar on the roof, etc. Now, it transpires they intend to do this here in the UK. They haven't made it an official announcement yet, but the fact is they are recruiting staff in the UK, and that makes it fairly clear that Tesla Energy is heading to these shores. Tesla Energy would help customers who own a Tesla battery, Powerwall battery, solar panels, or one of its electric vehicles to store electricity when it's cheap and sell electricity back to the grid when market prices are higher. Tesla took its first step into the British market 3 years ago by applying to the energy regulator for Great Britain to be an electricity generator. Ofgem granted its license in June 2020. That happened in 2020. I didn't know that. And I know folks who work in the electricity sector, so yet more proof that I am not a proper journalist. But I think I'm a lot better at journalism than the who work at the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Telegraph, and the Mirror, for sake, you. Anyway, a generation license would also allow Tesla to aggregate customers across the country and, in effect, create a virtual power plant. Similar tariffs for households with batteries or solar panels are already available from suppliers including Octopus Energy and OVO Energy. But I think it's interesting to see Tesla enter this market. It's a bit more competition, and yes, without question, what they are offering really only applies to fairly wealthy people who own fancy electric cars and Powerwall batteries. But all these technologies that are developing are helping bring down the cost of energy. Would it be better if these wealthier people paid money to vile political parties and lobby groups to spread fear, uncertainty and doubt about the need to change the technology we rely on? Oh, wait. No. Yes, they already do. Only the Russians and their shills among the global super rich, they're already doing that. The only thing, literally the only thing keeping energy costs high is oil and gas, nothing else. Because we are shortly holding Fully Charged live in the beautiful city of Vancouver, we are keeping an eye on the Canadian news, and sadly the really big story coming out of Canada recently is forest fires, the biggest they've ever had in human recorded history. And yes, there are horrific fires all over southern Europe and the USA, but these Canadian fires are absolutely massive. So far this season, 27 million acres of forest have burned across Canada. To put that in perspective, England, The little country of England is roughly 32 million acres, so it's burnt almost the size of England. Friends of mine in New York commented that they didn't leave their houses for a couple of days recently because the air was so thick with smoke. That's New York. It's about 800 miles south of the fires. It's unimaginable, but it's just weather. Plenty of people are saying that now. It's just weather. We can keep burning fossil fuel. It's fine. There's nothing to see here. Sometimes it's hot. Sometimes it's cold. We shouldn't worry about it. The latest meme from the far right about the climate is no one cares. Isn't that brilliant? So incisive. The data regarding forest fires in Canada shows this year will be more than double the previous highest annual total, which was back in 2014, with emissions of 249 million tonnes of carbon up to mid-July this year. Do you know what? I'm serious at the moment. I genuinely want the climate change skeptics, the reactionary angry men, the fossil fuel lobby, all the extremist right-wing politicians around the world to be right about this. I want all those oh-so-clever scientists with all their data and peer-reviewed papers and supercomputer climate models to be proven utterly wrong. I want all the horrendous heat domes and massive forest fires to be just weather. And I want to find out that these so-called scientists with their data and proof are all liars and are just saying these things to take away our cars, trap us in 15-minute city gulags and force us to be vegans and take away our guns. Because if those tens of thousands of scientists are right, which looks likely to be the case, then this is a very frightening world we're entering. A little bit more optimistic. This is a Kickstarter project the wonderful Jack Scarlett told me about. Taur electric scooters. There'll be a proper episode about them soon. Well, we know these simple machines are hugely popular around the world. I've used them in London, in Paris, in the Netherlands, in Brisbane, and in San Diego. We all know there are advantages and disadvantages, but they are a very low impact way of travelling around a city. As the Taur website says, electric scooters are incredibly green, practical and cheap to run. That's why nearly all major countries have introduced sensible regulations welcoming e-scooters into the transport mix. Not the UK. For some reason, e-scooter rental, despite all the flaws, is legal, but riding a scooter you own is illegal. But they have bigger wheels and the company are very keen to make them safer, a safer experience all round. But it is illegal to own one privately in the UK. That is so British. A law that baffles intelligent people from around the world. We've got quite a few of them. So Taur are challenging this. If you buy one of their rather swish-looking machines, they are offering to pay any fines you may incur from using it. And if your scooter is confiscated, which does happen apparently, they will replace it. I mean, how's that for confidence in your product? Very interesting. Okay, when it comes to finding ways of doing things without relying on burning hydrocarbons, the low-hanging fruit is ground transport. Everyone knows that. Flight, not impossible, but really, really difficult. International shipping, likewise. Steel making, some steps happening already by using hydrogen from renewables, but it's still complicated. But concrete, how the hell do we make concrete without burning stuff? People all over the place have been trying, and this week that global effort took an important step forward at a modest facility in central Alabama. On Wednesday, a startup called Carbon Built said commercial production of its low-carbon concrete has begun in a plant in the city of Childersburg. A local masonry manufacturer is making the thick grey concrete blocks using Carbon Built's novel technology, which the startup claims can reduce overall carbon dioxide emissions from making concrete from between 70 to 100%. This is kind of important because today we make more than 4 billion metric tons of cement and concrete every year. As a result, cement production accounts for between 7 and 8% of all global CO2 emissions. Their alternative cement process involves using calcium-rich industrial waste materials, which are then combined with water and aggregates. The mixture is pressed into moulds and placed inside a temperature-controlled chamber. They then flow CO2 into the chamber, driving a chemical reaction that forms solid concrete and permanently traps carbon in the blocks. Now, this is a form of carbon capture and storage that actually makes sense, if it's possible and if it works. Carbon Built claim the lowest carbon concrete blocks themselves won't cost any more to produce than traditional concrete. I like that story. That's really good. And the final story in today's almost breaking news is about the Ford Mustang Mach-e with Blue Cruise. So what is the story here? Well, Ford have developed what they call a hands-off, eyes-on technology. You could call it full self-driving, but I think that phrase is already taken. And it's not very full, and it's not very self, and it doesn't do much driving. No, that's just me being bitter. But here's the difference. You are now legally allowed to drive along all the UK's motorways, or highways if you like, without using your feet on the pedals or your hands on the steering wheel. I had a short test drive in the Blue Cruise enabled Mustang a couple of weeks ago, and I will state here and now, as someone who has experienced autopilot in a Tesla and a couple of semi-autonomous vehicles, Ford have done an amazing job. I drove on a 20-mile stretch of a very, very busy motorway just coming out of London, and the car dealt with everything. I did not touch the wheel once. It will only work once you are on a freeway/highway/motorway. It won't work on any other roads, but that's fine. And you really do have to keep your eyes on the road. If you were to stop looking at the road ahead of you, or if you close your eyes, or if you keep looking side to side, the car bleeps at you at first, and if you still don't take any notice, it dabs the brakes, which, believe me, that really shakes you up. It goes dum, dum, dum. It's quite amazing. There is an infrared camera looking at your face at all times. It is really well-tuned software, and if your eyes wander off the road, it warns you quick smart. And yes, it will work even if you're wearing dark glasses. We will be getting a Blue Cruise enabled Mach-e for a longer show coming soon, but I have to say my first experience with the technology was really impressive. On long drives, I think it could be a big help. It would be much safer, but I'm not 100% convinced the extra expense and the huge amounts of technology and computing necessary to make it work will ever become the norm in mass market cars. I'm very, very happy to be proven wrong. So that episode and many other shows are on the way to you soon. And I hope I'll see some of you in Vancouver in September. But for now, it's over and out from Almost Breaking News on the Everything Electric channel. And as always, if you have been, thank you for watching.